Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie McGrath, Senior Editor at Forbes. 6 years ago, three car guys and a winemaker put their heads together to build an electric tractor, an autonomous tractor that could help American farmers in a moment when profitability was declining. Joining us now is the founder and CEO of that company. It's called Monarch, and he is Praveen Penmetsa. Praveen, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to hear what's been going on for Monarch in the last few years.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been an exciting journey to date, and we have had some momentous milestones over the last, even 12 to 48 months. So we have launched our tractor. Farmers are able to buy it. More than 500 plus farmers have already purchased our machines, and they've used it for like more than 70,000 hours. So we're excited about the savings that we are bringing to our farmers and also the sustainability in terms of removing emissions that are generated by farm activities. So we're excited about both those.
So, because it is electric, it is lower emission, and because it is autonomous, it is saving farmers time. Is that correct?
100%. It saves just on the electricity side also. Farmers get to save $7 to $12 an hour for every hour they use the tractor because of the diesel savings that they see on the dollars and cents versus how much they pay for electricity. So that number varies based on which state you're in and how much your electricity charges are. But you're absolutely right. On the autonomous side, also, we have started to roll out our autonomous features in a phased manner. So a number of our customers are now starting to use some of our driver assist features and some of our automation features, saving them labor costs and bringing labor efficiency.
Now, Monarch made the Forbes Next $1 Billion Startup list in 2023. So that's about a year and a half ago. What do you think has been the biggest change for you since you made that list? And did it bring any extra attention or investment dollars?
100%. Agriculture and food security is still very much a new news item. So the fact that, thanks to Forbes shining a flashlight on how important food security is, which is the amount of nutritious food that we can grow, but also how important farmer profitability is has been a big support for us. Earlier in last year, in the middle of 2024, Monarch actually raised a very large investment round, one of the largest in the field of agriculture robotics, which positions Monarch as the leader in this space. And we're excited to have Forbes support us from bringing this important critical item of food security and food sustainability to the mainstream attention.
I was going to ask about that raise because when you made the Next $1 Billion Startups list, you had raised $116 million in equity and you had a roughly $271 million valuation. Where do those figures
Yeah.
stand today?
So both those numbers have now doubled in what has been a very challenging time for most startups. And definitely food and agriculture has also been a very challenging economic climate. Farmers are still continuing to struggle with their margins. Everybody knows that commodity prices are down, but expenses are still up. But the fact that we're able to actually have an impact on their bottom line has allowed us to not only raise more capital, but also increase the value of the company. So both those numbers have more than doubled in the time that we have since we've been selected for the Forbes $1 Billion Startup.
When you spoke with Forbes last year, you talked a little bit about the interest rate environment that you kind of just alluded
Yeah.
to, or at least the tough economic climate. And you had kind of been expecting a tough 2024 as a whole, and perhaps as people held off on buying tractors, as money was tight. How did the year end for you guys? Were you right in those projections that it would be a slow year?
Yes, I don't like to be a predictor of a slowdown, but it definitely has been a challenging year. There has been a slowdown on the equipment purchasing side of things, but interestingly, this is also when it makes sense for investments for forward-thinking organizations and forward-thinking farmers. So a couple of things that have helped us in this downturn is there's a number of large companies that have now seen our success at scale and are now partnering with us to use our technology on their equipment, whether it's on the electrification side or on the digitization side. We now have some really large OE companies, whether they're on the tractor side or other equipment that farmers use. They're all coming to Monarch saying, can we leverage your software stack? Can we leverage your electrification technology? And both those have acted as a good enabler for continuous growth. While the tractor sales have slowed down, the digital side and the software side is continuing to show new value to our farmers and to our partners.
What are your projections for 2025, either in terms of tractor purchasing or the digital stack that you just mentioned?
Yeah. No, we expect both those numbers to be up in 2025. Q4 already saw an increase over Q3 when we look at 2024. So I think we are starting to see some of the momentum on our side, at least. Ag and the industry in general, I think will still have a pretty tough 2025. On the partnership side also, we have a lot more partnerships that are in the pipeline. A lot of ag equipment companies, since they're also facing the downturn, now are having to make different kinds of decisions on whether do they make their own technology or do they access it through, say, Monarch's licensing programs that allows them to leverage and decrease their R&D expenses when their revenues are down, but also showcase new technologies. Today, I'm sitting here at CES, and John Deere has just announced some electrification equipment and some automation equipment. And for us, the fact that some of the large incumbents are starting to showcase this is actually driving a lot of the other players in the industry to our doors, saying, this is how we're going to compete with our competitors like John Deere by leveraging Monarch's technology. So we could be a good partner for a lot of these OEs that still want to compete with the large incumbents and get a competitive advantage in this downturn.
That's a really interesting perspective. So while the big players like John Deere might be electrifying their fleets, you see a business opportunity in serving smaller companies across the landscape that will in turn allow Monarch to grow?
100%. And our strategy has always been about how do we democratize technology, not only for farmers, but through partnerships with a lot of the ag equipment companies. So again, this is an industry where the number one player is, extremely large compared to even the other players in the industry. So the fact that Monarch can give a competitive advantage is something that everybody's waking up to, and we are having some fantastic conversations here that will bear fruit later on this year. So to answer your question, we expect our sales to increase in 2025 because it's a new technology that is saving money for farmers, number one. Number two, we expect our licensing and our software stack to start adding more revenue to our bottom line at Monarch with higher margins. So we're excited about all three of those items.
Let's just zoom out for a minute, because ag tech is not something that most people are born and dream of when they're a little kid. Maybe some, but in my experience talking to folks in the field, it's an evolution. What was the stroke of inspiration for starting Monarch? What made you want to build this company?
Yeah, the big thing for me definitely was, I've seen these industry transitions before, whether it's in the mobility industry, where the automotive industry transitioned from what it was in the early 2000s to where it is now, right? We have also seen this transition happen in the energy industry. And the whole energy landscape of how we power, whether it's urban areas or rural areas, et cetera, has changed a lot. The big inspiration for me was, but when I looked at our food ecosystem, there was no farmer profitability today. It is very much seen as a very tough industry for startups to compete in. But at the same time, what is very obvious is farmers need support, number one, and without farmers, there is no food security. So the fact that we can have a global impact through technology platforms And having seen those technology platforms succeed in automotive, having seen technology play a role in the energy transition, was what led me to say we can actually make farming profitable and sustainable, and then have food security around the world. Was what inspired our Monarch. At a time when a lot of investors called us crazy for going into ag tech, which everybody perceives to be a very tough industry for new technology, and also doesn't have a lot of investor appetite. But I'm a big believer in fighting the battles that need to be fought, not just the ones that can be won.
It can be a niche industry and one that feels inaccessible to a lot of people, but it also, as you pointed out, can sit under huge issues like food security, or rather, solving ag tech issues can reach real Americans through the food that they eat. Now, you have a background in, I believe, electric and self driving cars. What was it like to pivot to agriculture?
Yeah. No, it actually was a lot of people look at agriculture automation and autonomy and think it's a much easier problem. In certain ways, there are certain aspects of that autonomy that are easier, but in certain other ways, it is quite a lot more challenging. The payback on the technology has to be faster. It is a smaller market,
Mm.
but it is a much more impactful market. So to take on those challenges was what inspired us to pivot from urban on-road mobility to off-road, rural electrification, but also rural automation. And now we are the only company that has 500 plus machines out there that farmers are using with our autonomy now in different domains. Farmers that are milk producers, like our dairy farms, are using our tractor. Interestingly, also our fruits and orchards, where we started the company off, are using our machine. But even the next generation of farms, like say solar farms, are not something that we think of when we think about farms. But the fact that our new generation of AI and cloud infrastructure needs energy, and the only sustainable, profitable way of generating that energy today is through solar, which is going to compete with farmers for that same land, is an important aspect. And our tractor is playing a role on not only managing solar farms, but also allowing farmers to grow fruits and vegetables while using that same land for energy generation. So these are all the new kind of things that we are extremely excited about. And our tractor plays a huge role in both the energy transition and also our food and ag transition.
That's really interesting. So it's an ag tech company, but you see applications in sectors including space. Are there any other industries, if you're dreaming, that you could see Monarch play in the future?
Oh, I don't think there's a limit to where our machine can be used. The fact that we provide energy in remote areas, the fact that we can help with all kinds of different operations. Our tractor already, even though we're a startup, our tractor is already on like 4 different continents, being used for a variety of different applications. So we're very excited about these new applications that people often call us with, saying, "Hey, we would like to use your tractor for XYZ." And that's the whole vision when we started Monarch, was to build a platform that people can then be creative with. And we started off in farming, and today we're in land management. We're going into the energy space, and that will continue. So we are very excited about all these new spaces that we're opening up.
So, Praveen, you and I are speaking during CES, a time of a lot of launches and exciting news, but we are also speaking in a moment of presidential transition. The administrations will be switching over in just a matter of days. What are the challenges and opportunities you see for Monarch under the Trump administration, and how does the future look now compared to a potential Harris administration if she had won?
Yeah. And that's the beauty of like what we're trying to do is both administrations and have highlighted policies in the past that have focused on farmer profitability and food sustainability. What we are also hearing from some of the policy and some of the areas of interest is definitely in securing our food. What that means is we have to invest into our agriculture ecosystem. The fact that our tractor is manufactured in the US is a big advantage for us, which is very uncommon in small farm equipment. A lot of our small farm equipment is usually imported. Our tractor is built in Ohio. It's an American company, and we have a lot of US partners. Is all things that really give us a competitive advantage in positioning our machine. But the policy has also, what we're hearing is there's some interest with the new administration on making sure that farmers are supported, not only with technology, and maybe not as much on the sustainability side, but definitely a lot more on the efficiency side. Efficiency is the new word that the new administration is talking about. And when it comes to food efficiency and things like automation, the fact that there'll be hopefully more regulatory support for autonomy is something that we are looking forward to. So those are all the things I think that are going to provide strong tailwinds for our expansion, and also for farmers to get more support on precision agriculture. We should not think of our machine as an electric machine. We should think of our machine as a platform that is going to allow farmers to do more. And also the labor challenges are not going to get easier. So some of the immigration policies are also going to provide a tailwind for some of the activities that we're trying to do. On the whole, we want to control our security, whether it's through controlling our energy security, or whether it's through our food security, and also encouraging our own manufacturing, and encouraging that these solutions be developed and deployed in America. I think is something that we are already doing and have been doing for the last 6 years.
You mentioned the labor tailwind as a result of immigration policies. So can you expand on that thought a little bit? Is it if there are crackdowns on illegal immigration, you see a greater uptick for Monarch's products?
I would not frame it as a direct correlation, right? But what we do provide is agriculture today is a dull, dirty, and dangerous job. And it's a known fact that a huge amount of immigrant labor is involved in our agriculture ecosystem. This is not ideal for the labor themselves from a safety standpoint, and also from an exposure standpoint, or even the fact that there should be elevation of this labor. So it's not good from that labor perspective itself, number one. Number two is, food security means we have to be able to provide food at affordable prices in a with nutritional options. As we start transitioning away from a reduction of chemicals in our food ecosystem, that's going to require more labor. So the fact that we are not in a world where we can just import labor indiscriminately is the big tailwind. And we have seen this in other industries too. Is for us, the goal is to elevate our existing labor. Our existing tractor drivers should become fleet supervisors is the goal that we have at Monarch. And number two is, in a world where we cannot just indiscriminately import labor and put them in dull, dirty, and dangerous jobs, solutions like Monarch are the right ones to scale our food ecosystem and provide the food security while ensuring farmer profitability.
Now, you've said in the past that you envision Monarch becoming a publicly traded company. Do you still hold that vision? Do you see an IPO in your future? And if so, when?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because we're a platform company, and because of our impact and the fact that we have commercial scale today, we have a product that is being delivered to customers. Customers are using it, and the adoption is increasing. And also, we are globally scaling our operations. We will have a need for additional capital in the future. And obviously, we want to tap into the public markets to provide that next phase of growth. So on our side, we are not that far away. If you look at some of our metrics, the fact that our product is being manufactured and delivered, the fact that we have revenue today, the fact that we are working towards profitability as a company. And as soon as we get to this profitability metric, the slowdown has maybe pushed out and the markets have not been in the best place over the last year. But we still envisage the next 2 to 3 years for us to start approaching the public markets to raise our next round of capital to fund the next phase of growth for Monarch.
And finally, if we were to speak 1 year from now, you have a lot of big plans for growth, but what would you want to report to me has happened in the ensuing year? What do you think, if we're talking January 2026, you'll be able to say Monarch has accomplished?
No, I think we have already kicked off a lot of those efforts, so I know exactly what those things are. But I would love to showcase our success as a digital platform where we can say Monarch is not only delivering tractors to farmers, but also has become the Android of agriculture, enabling a lot of other global equipment companies to start delivering clean and smart solutions to farmers that are making farming more profitable. I would love to share with you the fact that we now not only have pilots happening in 3 other continents apart from North America, but actual customers and that farmers around the world are using Monarch. And also share with you that some of the largest off-road companies in the world are now sitting on a Monarch digital stack and are using Monarch technologies to increase automation in what is a very tough industry, namely agriculture and land management. Those are the 3 things that we'll be looking at. So, and we have kicked off those efforts. So, looking forward to having something to share in the next 12 months.
All right, Praveen, we'll have to have you back in January 2026 so we can check in. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today. We so appreciate your time and your insight.
No, thanks a lot for having me.